Start. We live. Hey,
oh, I think we're live. I think we're live. What up, leaguers? Welcome to the Spectacular Spoiler League. I'm the Pandas Superman, the mayor of Hype City, HazyRome, and as always, I'm joined by the God of Night, the Prime Minister of Post-Production, DeepBoyce. And today we're in the Hall of Spoilers to talk about Titans casting rumors. Okay, so I'm gonna cite that #show.com for the find on this one. And it seems that they stumbled on some Titans character breakdown, some Titans casting news, DeepBoyce, or rumors, so to speak. So it's casting calls. It's got fake names, like placeholder names, but it's got like age range and other descriptions that they're trying to use to cast the ideal candidate for each respective Titan actor that they're trying to go after. So what do you think about the character breakdowns, man? I mean, we got 4 people here. We can break that down. We can go through each one, but there's one that I think stands out the most to us, boys.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd like to kind of go through all of them like real quick, and then kind of give our thoughts, because like you said, there's one in particular that we kind of hinted at. We talked about in at least one other video, and it's actually opens up the realm of possibilities. It's kind of dope. Seems like
that one kind of. That one person kind of just makes us kind of hype, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's start off, man. Let's do it. So, first up, we got Daniel Cross. Male, age 17 to 19. So, Daniel Cross is a placeholder name, like I said. Male is the type of actor they're looking for. Age, 17 to 19. So, that's the ideal range they're looking for the actor. Caucasian. So, the description for this person is athletic, street smart, cocky, yet charming. His life has changed forever when he crosses a crime fighter and is given a new outlet for his rebellious ways. Recurring guest star. Okay, should I move on to the next one, or should we talk about him?
Let's move on to the next one, because Daniel Cross, that's an interesting one right there.
Yeah.
It sounds rather familiar.
Sounds a little familiar. So, number 2, we've got Jennifer Andrews, female. They're looking for somebody in their 20s or 30s, Caucasian. And the description for this character is small town, Midwestern girl gone Hollywood. Jennifer is a star on the rise. She comes across as a doe-eyed All-American, and as doe-eyed All-American naive in her approach to her art and life. Jennifer emulates the classic girl next door actors from the 1940s and 50s. A bit Stepfordy in her, like Stepford Wives, in her thinking and guest appearance. Jennifer feels like a woman out of time, recurring guest star. Next up, we've got Carolyn, a female, 40s, Caucasian. Forever sleepless with worry, she's the mother to a young, troubled teen, seeking a recognizable cameo face or nature. Guest star. The Messenger, male, 50s to 60s, open ethnicity, outwardly a warm and kind presence. He doesn't seem the type to be powerful or malicious, but he has the ability to turn on a dime and be the most terrifying man you ever met. Seeking offer-only names / recognizable faces, recurring guest star. So there it is, man. But Daniel Cross, man, that's really where it's at, DeepBoyce.
Daniel Cross. I mean, really. I mean, I guess let's put it on out there. What some people are saying, what we're kind of thinking as to who this recurring guest stars might be, is Roy Harper, aka Red Arrow, aka Arsenal. And we actually had when we talked about the Titans, or I guess the top 10 Titans we'd like to see on the show, Roy Harper was on that list. And we specifically wanted Colton Haynes, who played Roy Harper in Arrow, to kind of, I guess either be on the team or there to be some sort of crossover there. We don't have much information on the show yet, whether it's definitely not on the CW, so I guess it's technically not part of the Arrowverse. But there's possibility for some crossover, at least with some of the characters like Deathstroke and this Daniel Cross character, who could possibly be Roy Harper. I mean, honestly, the description there says, came across a crime fighter, possibly the Arrow of Star City, and changed his life, changed him around.
See, the thing is, I think that, in DC Chronicles in the chat, he kind of brought this up. I think what this does is I think it kind of confirms that if this is indeed Roy Harper, I think the casting call sort of gives a confirmation that maybe this person may not be someone who we know already. So I don't think that Colton Haynes would be Arsenal or Speedy or Roy Harper if this casting call is who we think it is. Because I mean, the age range they're looking for is 17 to 19. They're looking for someone in their late teens. Now, Colton Haynes, you know, he's a young guy. You know, I mean, he's not an old guy by any means, but he's in his mid to late 20s. I'm actually going to look up real quick how old he is. But he definitely he's 29, so he's definitely outside of the a
bit too old.
The 17 to, yeah, he's too old for this casting call. That doesn't mean that they you know, that doesn't mean they can't change their minds on this front. But I think if this is Roy Harper, I think the important thing is that this may not be, you know, the Roy Harper that we know from the Arrowverse, which would mean that this is not going to be tied into the Arrowverse. I mean, we kind of thought that might be the case, but you know, I know it might be disappointing for some to hear, but if this is, and once again, we don't know if this Daniel Cross is supposed to be Roy Harper, but if it is, if the crime fighter that he came across was, you know, the Green Arrow, then, you know, 17 to 19, that's not Colton Haynes right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. That's probably the biggest red flag and the biggest thing that's pointing in the opposite direction. The age, because Colton Haynes. I mean, I don't think when he first appeared on the show, the character was supposed to be in that age range.
Yeah. He seemed older than that to me, like late teens, maybe 19,
And he's certainly not that age now at this point on the show.
No.
So, yeah. No. So, I mean, like you said, it's too early to really say. We don't know what's going on, and just the fact that it's a casting call probably points more towards their, you know, if it is Roy Harper, they're just kind of doing something fresh, something new with a brand new character and a different kind of backstory. But that also could mean, if it is Roy Harper in this Titans show, that there's a Green Arrow in this Titans universe.
Yeah, and that means we might actually see someone else portraying Green Arrow. You know, somebody in the chat asked if there's an Archer from, I think the person is asking whether Green Arrow from Arrow is coming to Titans or some other Archer character like Merlin. And, you know, based on what we're saying right now, it doesn't look like Arrowverse and Titans are going to be crossing over anyway. And we, you know, in the previous video we did, you guys can check that out. You know, we speculated on the Titans Arrowverse crossover, and we just kind of thought logistically it would have been difficult. I don't think there's going to be, you know, some people are asking whether or not there'll be some crossover. I think this gives us a hint that there won't be a crossover. You know what I mean? Unless it's like some type of, you know, like parallel Earth situation. I think this is probably just a situation where we're, you know, on a different Earth, and this is just a different interpretation. But I mean, is there anyone else that could fit this role, this description? You know, someone who's athletic, street smart, and came across a crime fighter, and, you know, is given a new outlet for his rebellious ways?
There's a little somebody by the name of Jason Todd.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that. What if it's Jason Todd? You know,
and that was also something that again, an idea that we kind of played around with, that not only would there be a Nightwing on this show, but there may also be a Robin on this show. We were kind of guessing maybe it would be Tim Drake, but
well, street smart cocky doesn't. I mean,
not according to this, but I'm just saying, referring back to the video when we had the discussion months ago about who we would probably would want on there, but I feel like a Jason Todd, not Jason Cod.
That's
his Atlantean cousin. But Jason Todd definitely fits this description, and I think would honestly make a more interesting juxtaposition between Dick Grayson and, you know, obviously Jason Todd. I mean, because it doesn't seem like they get along too well in the comics from what we've seen.
Well, yeah, I mean, historically, I don't think Jason Todd and Nightwing get along too well, but I also think the idea is that, especially, you know, what Titan seems to be painting is that Dick Grayson has kind of moved away from Batman. He's trying to be his own man. And in the comics, part of him moving away from Batman being his own man is that he wasn't really there for Jason Todd. And Jason Todd, I think, kind of took that with a chip on his shoulder. Like Jason Todd in the comics, I think he took it, you know, a little bit personally that Nightwing didn't, you know, get involved with him. Then when Jason Todd died, I think that's more when Nightwing was like, all right, whoever the next Robin is, I probably need to take a little bit more of a role in that person's life. And I think that Jason Todd and Nightwing, they get along now in the comics. I think they're kind of like a younger brother, older brother situation. But I think there's a chance if this were to be Jason Todd. I mean, if you look at this description, like this pretty much fits. This could also fit Jason Todd, not necessarily Arsenal. So, and we don't have any confirmations of Jason Todd existing in any other universe. Orion in the chat asks what channel this is going to be on. This is going to be on the DC streaming service. DC is coming out with a streaming service in 2018. They haven't announced much details other than Titans and Young Justice Season 3, Young Justice Outsiders being on the streaming service. There's no price. There's no release date for the streaming service as a recording of the live show that this video is taking place during, but that can all change. CB129, or 198, I should say, he says the show's probably going to suck. DeepBoyce, man. We got to have faith in DC, man. Like, we got no inclination to say this show, like to think that this show is going to suck. I mean, I think that they've casted great thus far.
Yes.
And, if anything, they have free range to do whatever they want. I mean, in terms of Young Justice, within some confines, of course. With Young Justice during SDCC, the creators and the showrunners for that show, Greg Wiseman and co., they kind of talked about how with Young Justice they can tell more adult stories because now it's on DC's own network and they don't have to worry about it being on Cartoon Network and being age appropriate. And I think the same mentality applies for Titans because it's on this DC streaming service. They have a little bit of freedom to tell mature stories, more adult stories, and maybe even possibly avoid some of the pitfalls of the Arrowverse that people have kind of, been upset about, focusing on romances and things like that. Obviously, there's going to be romances in there, but we all know shows on the CW are like a little bit more romance heavy than other shows, to the point where sometimes we feel like it may get in the way of the storytelling. So, to that I say, Titans is looking good thus far. Yeah. And it would look even better if they had Jason Todd or Arsenal in there. I'm just saying.
It would. And, again, this is headed by, I guess the mastermind behind this is Jeff Johns, and it seems like he has a lot of leeway in terms of what he can and cannot do. He's also kind of in charge of the direction of how the movies are going, which, in my opinion, that's nothing but a great thing for the movies, for this show. Honestly, I've seen nothing but positive things coming out of, I guess, fans and people that are anticipating the show. You're honestly maybe like one of the first comments that I've seen of someone say the show's probably going to suck, but I don't see what is pointing in that direction that the show is not going to be good. It seems like they're going to try and do their best to present something that's going to be real interesting. I mean, we don't really have an idea of where the story is going to head because who knows, how far along they are in the process. But the casting, I've liked everything that I've seen out of the casting. So honestly, and AMJ every day in the chat made a good point that this needs to succeed. Like they can't have this failing, especially it being on. It's probably going to be the flagship or one of the main shows on this DC streaming service. So they really need this to be like a home run.
Yeah, they're using this to start that streaming service, and it looks like we convinced CB2198. He said he's going to try and be optimistic, and I encourage you guys to be optimistic about it. I mean, in talking about, it possibly being a separate universe, McBoss Awesomeness, he asked, why does DC have to have so many separate universes on TV and in movies? And that's because their approach has always been, since they announced that, the TV and the Justice League or DCU would be separate, they have stressed that there are infinite amount of universes, and thus that allows them to tell an infinite amount of different stories. I'm completely fine with them having separate universes because, as we've seen with Marvel, the TV universe and the Marvel and the movie universe have, although there's some small Easter eggs and stuff, as the years have gone by, there's been more separation, especially since Kevin Feige has kind of, moved out under the, the purview of Isaac Perlmutter, who is a Disney executive. Like Kevin Feige's kind of done his own thing over with Marvel Studios, and Isaac Perlmutter and Jeff Lowe have done their own thing on the TV side of things with Marvel TV. And you see, like, the crossovers are a little bit less than they were before. We haven't had a big crossover like the one that happened between Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Winter Soldier, since that time. You know, there haven't really been any big crossovers. So I think if DC wants to have these separate universes and do that, that's more than fine with me. You know what I mean? And yeah, you know, it's I would love to see like Arsenal from the Arrowverse in Titans, but if this Daniel Cross casting isn't Arsenal or isn't, you know, the Roy Harper that we knew from the Arrowverse, I'm 100% fine with that. You know, as long as the portrayal is good, as long as the portrayal is decent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, someone Antonio Laguna in the chat actually brings up a really good point, which I think is probably really the only concerns that I have, and I think is a legitimate concern based off of what we've heard, what we've seen, is not really the show or any of the other shows themselves, because I personally have faith in this, and especially Young Justice, but really the pricing, the pricing of this DC service, you know, that could be a problem depending on how much it costs for whatever it is they may be offering, because if it's 2 shows and a few other tidbits here and there, and they priced it at like $15 or something more like that, that might be a bit of a problem. I mean, we also did another video as to what we would like to see on this DC streaming service. Again, you can check it out on the Spectacular Spoiler League channel. We talked a lot about you know, prior DC content like shows, cartoons, movies, all that good stuff. So that's a legitimate concern, is you know, on how much they're gonna price it. But like Hazy was talking about in terms of the I guess the multiverse, I think I don't know. I personally, I have that in the rearview mirror at this point in terms of crossovers. I don't feel all that thirsty for there being crossovers between everything that they're putting out there, whether it's DC or Marvel. I just want them to kind of think more on a smaller scale, so you have maybe a show or two that are connected, but really make sure that the shows are as best as they possibly can be. Because if we read comics and we've accepted multiverses for the longest at this point, you know, there's like Earth 1 Batman, Earth 2 Batman, Earth 3. There's no reason why we can't accept that for the TV shows. You know what I'm saying?
It's straight out of the comics. Like, there's people that complain about the, you know, not being comic book accurate. I mean, there's really nothing more comic book accurate than having separate universes for your different stories that you're telling. You know, it's kind of like you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, this is what it is. You know what I mean? You know, I'm just gonna reference this quick, but somebody's wondering whether Gotham's in the same universe as Arrow.
Nope.
It's possible they could always do it, but I'm gonna give that like a hard no. Like, as it stands, definitely not in the same universe. Like that could always change, but I don't believe it is. They could always do it and change it so that it is, but as it stands, no, it is not. But to get back to some of these casting calls, man, to get back to some of these. I mean, I want to jump to Carolyn, who I said is a female in her 40s, Caucasian. They describe this person as forever sleepless with worry. She's the mother to a young, troubled teen and they're seeking a recognizable cameo face or name. So I think Carolyn is actually going to be Raven's mom. I think that Raven's mom is going to be, you know, part of this Titan story, because Raven, as we know, she has an issue with her dad chilling in her forehead, messing up her life. You know, Trigon is hanging out there. And I've seen previous descriptions of Titans saying that, you know, her mother might even get killed based on, you know, trying to protect her. And I think that, I think that Carolyn actually might be Raven's mom. So that's the first inclination I thought when I read that. And I mean, that seems to go with a forever sleepless with worry mother. I mean, I would be worrying too if my daughter had a demon in her head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Especially if she's as young as the girl that they casted. I mean, that young child looks like she's 13 years old. I mean, out there
she's like,
fighting
I think
crime.
She's 13 or 14.
Yeah.
So I think that's who that is. The messenger, right? So that's the male, 50 to 60, open ethnicity, outwardly a warm and kind presence. He doesn't seem the type to be powerful or malicious, but he has the ability to turn on a dime and be the most terrifying man you ever met. And they're seeking offer only names and recognizable faces. So the messenger, and this is just completely, you know, a theory, might be either brother blood or related to brother blood. So I mean, he's, you know, central to the Judas Contract storyline. Alternatively, I also think this messenger could be some sort of worshiper of Trigon. It could be somebody who seeks to free Trigon from his prison, and, you know, him being a messenger, he's a herald, so to speak, of Trigon. What do you think, boys?
That would be rather interesting, honestly.
Yeah.
Just kind of wondering how that'll play into, I guess, whatever the first season is going to be. But I mean, this character is from this casting call a recurring guest star. So would that mean that they're a villain or maybe the villain?
I mean,
or maybe a major character, like you said, in terms of in charge of the. I'm forgetting the name of the organization their brother Blood was sort of lording over.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm thinking that maybe this person is. I mean, the description gives me the idea that someone who has malicious intent. You know what I mean? Like somebody whose appearance at first, belies the actual nature that he's trying to put down. So I feel like he might try to get close to the Titans and ultimately, try to get something from them or betray them. The reason why I think the messenger applies to maybe, Brother Blood or Trigon is because the messenger for me kind of gives me the impression of someone who is a prophet or somebody who has some sort of like cultist tie in DC Comics. You know what I mean? The messenger to me just sounds like somebody who comes as sort of a herald, and I think with Trigon being, a factor here with Raven, and I think with Brother Blood having history with the Teen Titans, I think that those are two logical characters that this messenger could be tied to, or he could very well be Brother Blood.
Yeah. Thank you, Saint Lugia. He said the organization is the Church of Blood.
Yes, the Church of Blood. Yes,
Church of Blood.
Sorry, I didn't answer that question when you asked me. I didn't even realize that. Yeah.
And Orion, so we pretty much do have a confirmed team list. I mean, we have pretty much the major characters that are going to be on the Titans. Thus far, they've already kind of been casted.
Roxy Blade, real quick, since we're on the subject of Titans, she asked, do we think in the future that we'll ever see season 6 of Teen Titans, the animated series, on a streaming service? In this day and age, shows come back all the time, and with Teen Titans Go being a success, there's always a don't hate on Teen Titans Go, even though I hate it too. But there's 100% a chance that anything can happen. Is there any news or inclination that is happening? I don't believe so, but I would never say never. Like, I mean,
they brought back Samurai Jack, so
yeah,
they could possibly bring back Teen Titans, and I would absolutely love for them to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we'll see that side by side with Young Justice. That's the only thing, because like Teen Titans and Young Justice, while they're clearly different properties, there's a little bit of overlap in terms of like the subject matter, which is teens who maybe are proteges or teens who, have hero ties and working together as a team. So we may not see that for that reason, but it's entirely possible. But I want to get to the last casting call, because honestly, I'm completely baffled by this one. I want to see what your thoughts are. So this is Jennifer Andrews, placeholder name once again, female, 20s or 30s, Caucasian. So she's a small town Midwestern girl going to Hollywood. Jennifer's a star on the rise. She comes across a doe-eyed, all-American, and naive in her approach to her art and life. Jennifer emulates the classic girl next door actress from the 1940s and 50s. She's a bit step 40 in her thinking and appearance. Jennifer feels like a woman out of time. Recurring guest star. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, that one honestly was the biggest kind of question mark, because obviously I can't really. I have like no idea as to who that could be besides Elastigirl, which is kind of theorized again on this article here. They kind of put together the casting call, I guess, clues, and maybe think, oh, it's possibly this character named Rita Farr, aka Elastigirl. If anyone's been watching The Flash, at least tonight's episode, they had Elongated Man on there. So as a guest star, so they definitely have the tech and the money and the know-how to kind of pull that off for a character. And I mean, it could make for an interesting guest role there, and because I don't know how many young versions of existing characters are out there. But if either they create some new characters or they take some characters that are very kind of niche and not well known, they could definitely use it to kind of insert into some interesting storylines, and to have I guess, a revolving door of guest titans, for whatever's going on in this first season. So obviously this character, ready from the get-go, just from that casting call, can have a rather interesting storyline there just for like one episode or more, depending on what it is they decide to do with her. And obviously her, if it is Elastigirl, that could be something that is, can make for something different. You don't really see too many characters like that in movies or TV shows nowadays. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't know who it could be. I honestly don't even have any guesses besides the one you named. But something makes me feel like there's potential for this someone to actually be someone from another time. Like, what if that were the case? What if this person was some sort of time traveling character? I don't know. Because I think the thought that I had immediately was someone from the Justice Society. Obviously, Justice Society is a precursor to Justice League, and this person they're looking for to be in their 20s or 30s. That would be a little young in terms of like where Nightwing is, in his time, and having been trained under Batman. It wouldn't really add up.
I mean, it does say here Jennifer feels like a woman out of time. So maybe that is a clue as to, her being displaced from time, from some other era.
Right, and there are a ton of people. I mean, Stargirl, I mean, even if it's not someone displaced from time, let's say, it is some all-American girl, that might be the key there. Stargirl has all-American attire. You know what I mean? She, is she seems to have that, like, that all-American approach to her. And, it could very well be someone like Stargirl. And DC has shown a liking for the character of Stargirl. We've seen her in Smallville. We also saw her in Legends of Tomorrow Season 2. So it could be a character like that as well.
So, someone here, Ricardo Rios, actually made an interesting suggestion, Saturn Girl, who has been in the show previously.
It's funny that you say out of time, because my thought was first thinking of the past. But what if she's from the future? And what if they were doing like, oh my gosh, bro, what if they were teasing like Legion of Superheroes? And that would be crazy. That's a good one, Ricardo. That was dope. That's dope. What if she is Saturn Girl? And what if she, she has this this classic girl next door vibe, and she's fascinated with the past, because in her time that's what she was interested in.
Yeah,
what I mean?
I'm a little bit more inclined to thinking that it's Saturn Girl.
Yeah,
I think that's a better suggestion. I mean, I like now how it's almost like we're all brainstorming here live in this session. Usually we're, in the dungeons in the Hall of Spoilers, just kind of brainstorming on our own. But these live streams allow us to kind of all come together.
Yeah.
And really think these things through.
Yeah, somebody said Saturn Girl, will be on Supergirl. And listen, we just kind of preface this conversation by saying, just because someone's on Supergirl doesn't necessarily mean it won't be on Titans. Just because someone's in Arrowverse doesn't mean they won't be on Titans. Just because someone's in the DCEU doesn't mean we won't see them on any other medium. I mean, we got 2 Supermans in the DCEU and 1 in the Arrowverse. It's entirely possible Saturn Girl could appear in both of these shows. You know what I mean? That's 100% possible. And Saturn Girl, she's a character from the Legion of Superheroes. So basically, fast forward to the future. I believe it's the 30th century. Saturn Girl is a founding member of the successor or sort of a future version of the Justice League. So Saturn Girl is a main member, core member of that team, and you often see her appear in stories attached to Supergirl. Supergirl has traveled to the future, hung out with the Legion of Superheroes. There's also been some storylines where Brainiac has gone back in time to try and kill Kal-El. That was particularly in I believe Superman the animated series, and also in Smallville that happened, I know for sure, where Brainiac has tried to travel back in time, or someone has tried to travel back in time, kill Clark Kent. Saturn Girl was sent back in time to save him, before he became Superman, of course. So just a super duper brief explanation on Saturn Girl. But I like that guess. I very much like that guess. I think the age range fits perfectly. I think the idea that she kind of emulates like a classic era of American history. I think that might actually work for someone who's from the future. So I mean, this is kind of getting me hyped for the show, man. To keep it a buck, Fitty. Yeah. I don't know about you, man, but it's making me excited, man.
It's interesting. It's interesting, and I really hope to see. I really hope this show comes sooner rather than later, because I'm interested in seeing how this all plays out.
Yeah. But I mean, any final words before we wrap this thing up?
I guess one last thing. Baron Dennis asked, "Could Superboy finally show up?" I mean, that would be an interesting and welcome addition.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, this description for Daniel Cross, I mean, I know athletic would be a stretch for right, but it could also be Superboy. I mean, that athletic is a stretch for Superboy, but you know, it could just be them being cheeky. Maybe the person they're looking for they could just want someone who looks athletic. Yeah. So I mean, Superman is a crime fighter. Could very well be, you know, Superboy that encounters a Superman. You know, I mean, I would love to see Superboy personally. I don't know if they want to go that route. I have no idea, but I mean, Superboy is a character that a lot of people love. And I think that, you know, that could work well with Titans, man, and what they're trying to do. So, but thank you for the question. Thanks to everybody who turned out to the live stream, and thank everybody who came to catch this video that's going to be up on youtube.com/spectacular spoiler league. But that being said, y'all, thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for checking this out. Let me know in the comments below. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think about these casting calls. Let us know if you think it's any characters that we named or if it could be someone completely different. And please support the Spectacular Spoiler League by hitting that subscribe button so you could join up with the league and we can start our own Titans team. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we look kind of strong. We got abilities, me and DeepBoyce. We can do something here. Yes, you know what I'm saying? Drop a like on the video so we can help this video get out there. Hit that little bell icon to turn on notifications so you can be up to date with the latest and greatest coming from the Spectacular Spoiler League. We'll see you guys on the next one. We're getting on out of here. We're getting out of the hole of spoilers, y'all. Peace out.